Hello, Sonder fam. Welcome to our Sunday night weekly setup. We're so glad that you're here. My name is Bailey Grady, and I'm dialing in from Hendersonville, Tennessee tonight, so just a little north of the Nashville area. And I'll be your facilitator to guide you through. So for those of you who may be new, how our weekly setups work is we will start off by doing a few prompts together, and then we're going to actually get into the weekly setup pages of the journal. We'll be going through the different sections on pages 32 and 33 of your February journals. And we'll be giving you some tips and tricks for things you might want to do on those pages in there. And then, of course, putting on some music for you to actually get those things done, hopefully, and also sharing in the chat what you're putting down so that maybe you can inspire others or you can take inspiration from others who are willing to share. And speaking of sharing in the chat, when you share in the chat, you're going to want to make sure that that little blue box above where you type is set to everyone. A lot of the times it will default to host and panelists. And if it's host and panelists, not everyone will be able to see what you have to say. So go ahead and flip that to everyone so that when you're communicating in the chat, you'll be able to share and everybody will be able to be inspired by what you're doing with your journal and all of those wonderful things, and we can all connect with each other. Also, as we go through tonight, if you want to take any pictures or screenshots of anything that you see, that is totally a-okay with us. Sometimes, we'll flip through different slides and things, and you want to really be able to come back to it. So we know that people like to take screenshots and things, and that is okay. Likewise, the chat can move a little fast too. So pro tip is to scroll up a little bit if you want it to stop pushing. But also, if that stresses you out, you don't have to do the chat. It's always participate at your own comfort of whatever you want to do. And if you feel like taking pictures of what your journal actually looks like once it's set up, we would love to see it if you want to share it in Sonder Club, or you can tag us on Instagram and TikTok at Silk and Sonder. So real quick, before we do any events, we always like to go over our community guidelines. So number one is be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Please respect everyone's privacy here. No hate speech or bullying, of course. And try to limit repetitive product and accessory questions. We like to try to stay on the topic at hand, if you will. Sonder Club is a great place to ask for recommendations and things like that of favorite stickers, favorite pens. We don't mind a little bit of that in the chat today either, because it is relevant, but we don't want to get too carried away. And then if Maya, who is my amazing stage manager today, she's going to hop on and wave, hello, there she is. If Maya or I cannot answer your question, either because we don't know the answer or because we don't have access to the information to be able to help you, we will be redirecting you to the customer care team over at headquarters. Their email is hello@silkandsonder.com. They're a Monday through Friday team, so give them a day or so to get back to you. But anything you need help with that we cannot help, they will be glad to get back to you on. And finally, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So like I mentioned earlier, this is always participate at your own comfort. So for those of you that are new, you're going to notice that you don't have to worry about whether or not your camera is on and off or whether or not you're muted. I'll be the only one that's actually on camera tonight. So you can come exactly as you are, come in your comfy clothes or jammies, whatever you want to be in for this setup. And likewise, if you want to participate and share in the chat, awesome. We love it when you guys share in the chat. But if you don't, that's okay too. If you want to actually set up your journal today, great. If you just want to jot down some ideas, great. If you're waiting on your journal to come in, it hasn't come in yet, that's okay too. You're just here to get some ideas, any of it, all of it, whatever you need. We're just happy that you're here with us. So tonight we will start our confidence mind map. So again, for those of you that are new, at the weekly setups, we do a mind map, which is just a series of journal prompts around our theme for the month. And each week there is a different prompt to go with our theme. And that's going to be done just on a blank page in your journal. So we'll do that first. Then we'll do a rosebud thorn exercise to sort of say goodbye to last week before we embrace next week. And then we'll get into those weekly setup pages on page 32 and 33. So our theme this month is confidence. It is February 4th. We are already 4 days into February, if you can believe it. And our theme this month is confidence. So if you haven't had a chance to read Mayha's letter on page 2 of the journal, I definitely recommend taking a look at that. It's always a really good place to start with the theme. And one of the things that she says in there, she asks the question of like, what does confidence mean to you? And then she answers with what it means to her. And I really think that that is going to be key for each of us as we explore this theme this month, because the areas in which we want to grow our confidence in and what we need in order to grow that confidence is going to look different for each of us. So if you already know what confidence means to you and you know kind of what you want to focus on, great. See if there's any way that you can build that into your routines during the weeks of this month. But if not, if you need to think about it a little bit, if you're still trying to figure out what confidence means to you or what that looks like, that's okay too. There's no pressure. You don't have to have an answer right this second. I know some people are waiting till the end of the month to kind of answer that question for themselves. And others are answering it now. And then at the end of the month, they want to see if it's changed at all. If you do want to answer it, on page 3, that actually included a little place for us to answer it this time. So to me, confidence means, and there's a little space there for you to fill it out if and when you're ready. So I did fill it out. And for me, confidence is going to mean radical and consistent self-love. I think that if I'm feeling truly confident, if I'm, really loving on myself and accepting myself exactly as I am in all areas, really nobody else can tell me any different. Nobody else can tear me down, right? I'm sort of my own worst enemy. So the only time that other people can really impact me and their negative thoughts or feelings or comments can really bother me is if it's speaking to something that is like within myself that I also feel. So as I continue to work on loving myself and accepting myself exactly as I am, my confidence is going to grow. So that's what that means to me. And I've got a few quotes here on the screen that I think speak to that. So confidence isn't thinking you're better than anyone else. It's realizing that you have no reason to compare yourself to anyone else. Love yourself, accept yourself, forgive yourself, and be good to yourself, because without you, the rest of us are without a source of many wonderful things. The root of true confidence grows from our ability to be in unconditional friendship with ourselves. And accept yourself, love yourself, and keep moving forward. If you want to fly, you have to give up what weighs you down. So that is a little insight on how I'm feeling about confidence this month. If any of that resonates with you, great, fantastic. We can kind of learn together as we go through this month. If you have a totally different vibe, if it means something else to you too, that's great as well. We'd love to hear you share a little bit about it, because you never know, there might be somebody else that is feeling the same way you are. So without further ado, we're going to get into that confidence mind map. So again, this is done on a blank page or space in your journal. You can use scratch pad areas. You can use any blank page or space. If you're somebody that fills up all the little nooks and crannies in your journal and you want to use just like a separate notebook for this, you can do that as well. I always just do mine on the very, very last page of the journal because it makes it easy to find. Just on page 60 is where I do mine. So we're going to dive into 4 different weekends this month on confidence and thinking about this week, confidence in our abilities. So the prompt is reflect on your 3 greatest strengths and jot down specific examples of actions, behaviors, or accomplishments that demonstrate them. Now, for me, where it said reflect on your 3 greatest strengths, I kind of struggled with that because I was like, oh, I don't know what my top 3 are. What if I list 3 and then later I'm like, oh no, this one's a lot better or whatever it is. And so I finally just said, you know what? It's fine. Just pick 3. Just pick 3. So if that starts to stress you out like it stressed me out, just pick 3. Just pick 3 to go with today and reflect on. And I'll come back to this prompt. But we also want to share this wheel of character strengths. So there's different categories here in the wheel, and then there's some examples within those categories of what some different character strengths might be. So if you've had kind of a tough week and you're kind of like feeling a little bit more down and you're struggling to kind of think of what your strengths are, or maybe you thought of 2, but now you're like, oh, what do I want for the 3rd one? You can definitely use this wheel as some inspiration and see if that like sparks anything in your mind for you. And then this is what I said for this prompt. So for me, the 3 strengths that I listed here were insightful, creative, and bravery through vulnerability. So first of all, I'm going to tell y'all right now, I know how to spell therapy. I swear. Sometimes my brain moves faster than my hand. So that first thing is supposed to say growth in therapy, not growth in therapy. Um, but yeah, so, just in case, the next time you make a mistake and you feel like, oh no, the world is ending, it's only me, you're not alone. All of us make mistakes and have weird things that happen. So again, insightful, creative, bravery through vulnerability. And so I listed out growth in therapy, my ability to help others in their growth, championing new ideas and viewpoints, coming up with fun parties, gifts, trips, and adventures, speaking authentically to any audience, my solo trip to Disney and everything I learned from it, problem solving, arranging slash decorating in our home, giving words to feelings of others and myself, and asking for help when needed. So those are all things that I felt like were examples of those three strengths of mine and kind of spoke to those. Um, so yeah, and there's some fun quotes on the screen for a little bit of encouragement and inspiration as well. So I'm going to hop back to this prompt and I'll go through all of those slides as you're working on this. And we're going to put on some music to listen to while you work. Okay, thank you all for taking a few moments to consider this mind map prompt. If you're still thinking about it, that's okay. Along with this exercise, as well as anything that we do tonight, just because we move on from it doesn't mean that you have to be done with it. Your time with your journal is never over. To share a few things from the chat, Erin shared that their strengths are loving people for who they are, just as they are. I think that's beautiful. Connecting people and that they're comfortable being vulnerable and offering and receiving help. Lori shared that theirs were self-awareness, compassion, and advocacy. And Maggie shared that theirs are passionate, emotionally intelligent, and caring. There were so many amazing things that are shared in the chat, so I would love to see more of them. Feel free to continue sharing as we're going through, but also if you feel comfortable posting your Mind Map and Sonder Club, we would love to see it there as well. So we are now going to move into our rosebud thorn exercise. So this is going to appear each week in your journal. So since we are setting up on pages 32 and 33, that means that this week's rosebud thorn is on page 30. So before we move into the week ahead, we're just reflecting on last week and thinking about a rose, a highlight, something that went well, something that was a bright spot, maybe something that made you smile. And that can be a big thing or a small thing. Sometimes a rose is just that we get to say goodbye to last week and start a new week. We are also going to think about a bud, which is an emerging opportunity, something coming up. Maybe you're excited about it, maybe you're a little nervous. And then a thorn, so a challenge, something maybe that hasn't gone super well or that maybe made things a little tough. I really like this exercise because it lets us kind of look back on the last 7 days with a lot of balance. So I always like to read mine in reverse. So my thorn is that work has been a lot the last few weeks. Nothing bad, just it's super busy and that comes with its own set of struggles and things like long nights and not getting things done when I want to, but it's okay. We're getting there. And then my bud is that my birthday is actually next weekend. And so I have a birthday trip coming up, but it's a place we've never gone to before, and that's exciting. But also with my anxiety, sometimes new things are a little scary. So I'm looking forward to it, but also, have those normal, natural like nerves and everything. And then my rose is that Saturday night. So last night we spent some time with our favorite family. It's my best friend Becca and her husband and 2 kids, and it was so much fun. They're awesome, and we all like played a board game together and just had a really great time. So that was definitely my rose for the week. So I'll give you all a few moments to think about your rose, bud, and thorn. If you feel comfortable sharing in the chat, we'd love to see what you have to say, and then we'll move into that weekly setup together. Thank you for spending that time with yourself and also for sharing in the chat. I'm seeing such a wide variety of each of these different things, from things that are like small everyday roses that are just like really magical all on their own and kind of remind us that just being present and noticing those things is their own kind of magic, to really big roses, and also the same with thorns, like little hindrances here and there, but also some really big major things. And also seeing that some of us are struggling and celebrating the same things, and that's always really neat to see how we're connected to each other. So we're now going to move into our main event, which is that weekly setup. So again, flipping over in your journals to pages 32 and 33. And we're going to start on page 32 with this week I want to feel. So I have a word cloud here as an example. And again, as we move through all of these different parts of the weekly setup, I'll have multiple different slides up on the screen. And once I put the music on for you to work in your journal, I will move back and forth between them. So if your favorite slide goes away, don't worry, it'll come back. So there's a word cloud here for some inspiration, but we also have some examples to share from the Sonder Club. And then all of my examples from my own journal that are up on the screen will have like a green box around them just in case I forget to point it out. But my word for 2024 is embrace. And so I decided that, at least for now, I'm changing my this week I want to feel to this week I want to embrace, to kind of embrace that word for 2024, if you will. So because I do have that birthday trip coming up this weekend, this week I want to embrace adventure. And you can see up on the screen that you do not have to pick just one feeling. You can pick multiple feelings, and you don't just have to write that feeling. You can write out quotes that resonate to how you want to feel. I really like the person that wrote, what they want to feel more of and what they want to feel less of. But think about the week you have coming up ahead. Maybe think about those red rosebud thorns we just did, and consider that as you're sort of setting that intention for how you want to feel throughout the week. And I'll put on a quick song, and then we'll move on to our next section. Hopefully you are able to settle on a feeling, but if not, that's okay. It might come to you as we go through the other pages of your journal, so just wait and see if something speaks to you. We are now going to move into the weekly to-dos and weekly major 3 goals section. So when I do my setups, I always put these two together. And the reason is that I'm seeing more and more a trend in Sonder Club where folks are starting to sort of marry these two sections together. And so that way I'm not limiting you to doing one or the other first. You can kind of do them all at the same time. So I'm going to have a couple different examples here for both of these sections, and I'll give you a good chunk of time to do both of them. But first, let's dive in and take a look at how that might look if you decide to marry them together. So over on the left-hand side, you can see that somebody decided to kind of set those 3 major goals, and then they've color-coded their to-dos to kind of match with those things. And then you've also got somebody that did categories, so mind, body, soul, and then they did a little to-do bingo that goes with each section of those that they've kind of carved out. You also could decide to tie it to something different. So the center is somebody decided to kind of tie their goals up to how they want to feel, and they sort of wrote themselves a little reminder there that says goals should support the way that we want to feel. And then in the bottom, this one it took me a minute to figure it out, but they're actually using like a color code, which is pretty cool. So they have like their tours in one color, and then they have like some marketing things that were in their habits section that they were going to do. And then they actually have habits in green, and they put those over on their mind body health plan. So you might try this as an area of organization as well. And then a couple socials ago, Julie shared they were trying something different this month. Each week, she's choosing 3 of their monthly intentions to focus on and then setting goals tied to those. So that's also an idea. For me, I'm not tying these 2 sections together currently. I just have my list of kind of appointments and commitments for the week, and then I have a running list of little to-dos that I'm moving over week until I get them done. And then my 3 major goals this week are my birthday bingo row. So we have a build your own bingo this month in the journal on page 21. And because my birthday's this month, I did a whole row that was birthday related. So I'm going to try to tackle that this weekend on my birthday trip. And then I'm going to iron out trip details for a trip I'm doing with a friend in May. So again, leaning into that adventure. And then plans on the way home from our trip this weekend, because we're going to be going right through where some of our friends live. So maybe trying to set up lunch or something with some of them. So here are some more examples of ways you might tackle these. For your to-do list, if you have a super busy week ahead and you're like struggling to figure out where to even begin, you might want to try this Eisenhower matrix over on the left-hand side, and it can help you kind of pare down that list to a more manageable level by asking you questions like, hey, is this urgent? Is it not urgent? Is it important? Is it not important? And from there, hopefully you can get a smaller list of what you actually want to tackle this week. If you're like me and you struggle with executive functioning, the Pomodoro technique can be super helpful because sometimes getting started is the hardest part. So what you do is you settle on a task and then you set a timer for 25 minutes and you kind of commit to working on that task for 25 minutes. And then after 25 minutes, that timer goes off and you check in with yourself and you say, okay, am I making progress? Am I in the zone now? Do I want to keep working on this? Can I keep working on this? Or am I done for today? And that kind of lets you kind of check in with yourself and also give you that option to opt out if it's not going the way that you thought it did. But most of the time, if we just get going, we're like, oh, yeah, I can do another 25 minutes. I actually used this earlier today when I was working on some other things for my day job. Of course, you can use it as a traditional to-do list, but you can also change it to a to-be list. So like this example is saying, be positive, powerful, productive, and proud. You can try a need, want, hope list to kind of make some of those categories a little bit more manageable, because sometimes if we put stuff on there that we are like pretty sure we're not going to get to, but we don't want to lose it, that can be a good way to frame it to put hope. But you can also consider hope like, I'm hoping for more confidence, like that person did there on the top right. And if to-dos are not your style, you could do to-dos instead. So with to-dos, instead of writing down a whole list of things that you need to get done, you actually write down the things as you do them. And so then at the end of the week, it's like, ta-da, look at all you did. It's just a different mindset. We love a bingo here at Silk and Sonder, so you can always turn this section into a fun little bingo. Somebody did a birthday bingo when it was their birthday week, and I thought that was so fun, so I always include that. You can also try diving into different areas of focus or routine or change it all together. And as always, stickers or doodles are welcome here and can be a fun way to visualize your goals and plans. So here are some examples for our major weekly 3 goals. So in this section, again, you can decide to kind of marry it over to your to-dos like we saw in the beginning, or you can treat them separately as I do. But in this section itself, if you want to dive into areas of focus, that has been really popular. A lot of people do like work, home, self, or we have somebody that does left brain, right brain, no brain. I like the bottom sort of example of those where they have control, move, and organize, but it is also mind, body, home. So they did a category of mind, body, home, and then sort of set an intention for each one of those and then wrote out what that means for them. I also really enjoyed the example where the person listed out their why. So like for meditate often, why it helps with physical anxiety and I sleep better. A lot of the times if you write out your whys, it helps you stick to those goals and intentions a little bit more. And then you can also try a stop list or a to don't list in this section. As always, we want you to make this journal work for you. We want it to be yours and whatever you need this week. So if you have 3 major goals, great. If you only have one, awesome. Just write the one. If you need to have 5, we're good with that too. And if you need to make this something completely different, something fun like movies and TV shows, a self-care jar, a packing list, whatever you need, we want you to carve out that space for you. So I'm going to go back through all of these different examples while you work on this yourself. Feel free to share with us in the chat how you're setting this up or what you're writing down, and then we'll go on into our next sections. All right, so hopefully you figured out how these sections are going to work best for you going into the week ahead. We are now moving down to the bottom of our page in the habits and activities section. So you can take this section and use it as a place for you to put habits and activities that you just want to focus on for this week. Or you might decide that you need to put a little bit more focus on some of the habits and activities that you chose for your monthly habit wheel, or maybe you want to try like a stretch goal. So, for example, maybe as a monthly habit, you're like, I want to try to walk 5,000 steps a day. But this week, because that's gone well so far, you're actually going to try to walk 7,000 steps 3 times a week. So instead of changing that overall monthly habit on the habit wheel, you're just giving yourself that stretch goal 3 times a week here in this section. But you can also choose to use it for something totally different. I personally am using mine to focus on a new sleep routine. I've been doing that since the beginning of the year, and it's been helping me a lot to have that space to look at it and focus there. And when you're setting in goals and intentions, if that's what you're using this for, you can decide if you want to actually set that goal of how many times you want to do something that week, or if you just want to leave that blank and just track it as it happens, that's great too. As always, you can fill in every line that's here, or you can just fill in a few, or you can add extras and divide it up if you need to. You can also track how much of something you do, or try adding some no's to the list, like no nail biting, no alcohol, things like that. Or if it feels a little overwhelming for you to have habits in the front of the journal and also here, then you don't have to do that here. You can skip it. Or if you're somebody, I know our fellow facilitator, Katie, when she was starting out with her journal, she actually just focused in on the weekly pages because she needed something different every week. So she focused on weekly first and then worked into her monthly habit wheel. I was the opposite. I focused in on monthly first and then worked into the weekly. So whether that's you all the time or if that's you just this week because you just need to kind of take a break, you always have the permission to skip sections or things if they're not going to serve you right now. So you could use this as a place to just like do a little reflection, or you could just put some fun stickers on there that make you smile. There's also some different ideas there of things that might be good habits to add if you need some inspiration. So I'll put on some music for you and hop between these two slides, and then we'll move on to our next page. Thank you all for thinking about what habits and activities you might want to track this week, or if you decided to just skip it and tell yourself, take a break, take a breath, we're here to support that as well. We are now going to flip over to page 33, and we're going to start with the section that is titled Meal Plan. Now, this section gets repurposed in the journal quite often, and it's just because it takes up a lot of real estate. So if you're somebody that does use it as a meal planner or a meal tracker, that's awesome. And it's super nice to already have that dedicated resource kind of there pre-printed in the journal. But we do have a lot of folks that repurpose it again, just because it does take up a large amount of space there in that weekly setup. So there's a running list of potential ideas there over on the left hand of the screen, but we also have tons of really cool examples from Sonder Club here. So you can choose to use this as intended, like I said, or you can change it to something different. And if you do, you could consider doing some sort of acronym, like the GLAD acronym that we have up on the screen there. So it stands for gratitude, learning, accomplishment, and delight. So each day writing down something that you're grateful for, something you learned, accomplished, and something that delighted you. You could also use this as a place to write down your affirmations in the app. I also like the example on the bottom right where they're asking, did I meditate? Did I show that I slow down and enjoy the moment? And they've just sort of titled it Mindful Moments. There's also another reflection opportunity for the overall week there in the middle with this week I learned, created, loved, remembered, accomplished. And we've got some more examples here. So I have started using this as a place for me to write down my work meetings. It really helps me. My to-dos section kind of has all of my personal commitments and things in there. And then I use this section as my actual work meetings. In the position I'm in now, I'm in a lot more meetings, and actually keeping track of it in the journal kind of saved my butt a time or two. So I'm going to keep doing that until I get better organized and more adjusted to this new role. And also, I think it was last week, Kimberly L., who's here tonight, I believe, shared that she does something with this section that I thought was really cool. They use it as a daily check-in for their feeling of the week. So the example was, if you wanted to feel strong this week, your check-in might be, how did I show strength today? So again, tying it into that other section of the journal, I thought that was really neat. You could use this as a place for you to do tidy lists or other schedules. If you're the person that has to keep up with everybody in your family and all the plans and what's going on, this might be a good place for that. Also wins and achievements, quotes. If you do to-dos over on your left side in the to-dos section, you might want to do your to-dos over on this side or vice versa. And you can use it for something fun like word of the day, quotes, things that made you smile. And there's also some really cool different prompts here in the center. So I'll give you all a few minutes to think about how you want to use this section, and then we'll move into our next section together. All right. Hopefully you figured out how to use this section best for you. Again, if not, don't worry about it. Something might come to you later in the week. I'd know that a lot of the times that's how I've ended up repurposing things is halfway through the week. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a place for this. And ta-da, there it is. So we are now going to move into our mind body health plan and the shopping list right underneath it. So with the mind body health plan, this is just an opportunity for you to intentionally carve out some time for you, yourself, your mind health, body health, etc., and kind of make a plan around it. So that may look like an actual plan, like the folks over on the top left. But if you do that, I do love that they've really carved out some time for them to reset and relax. Or it might look like using this space for something else. In the past, I've done like a little self-care bingo here, and that's gone really, really well for me. So I usually do that, but this week I have that short week with work, and then we're taking that trip. So I'm just setting that overall intention of like, hey, tidy up a little bit because I hate going out of town with a messy house. And then try to get good sleep before we go out of town and travel, and my routine gets thrown off. There are 7 types of rest, and so this can be a good place to kind of check in with yourself each day and ask yourself, which areas are you needing that rest and relaxation in specifically? Have you been super social the last few weeks? Did you have a day full of meetings? Do you need to recharge in that space, for example? You can also use it as a space to check in with yourself or with others. I know a lot of the times I intend to check in with friends and family, but if I don't write it down, I forget until it's like 10:30 at night, and then it's too late to call anybody. So this can be a helpful space to do that in. You can also use it for other things if you have, again, pets that you take care of or family members that you take care of. Sometimes getting those things off our mental plate is a way to take care of our own mental health. I really like the plant care. I think that is so cute. You can do an I feel and I need T chart. So checking in and saying, how do you feel right now? And what do you need to kind of support that feeling or improve it or celebrate it? And of course, you can always use it as a space to just remind yourself to breathe and rest. And then that shopping list right underneath it. So I use this as intended as a shopping list. With my like ADHD and anxiety, I kind of have like a little bit of like a mental brain explosion when it comes to buying things, where if I don't buy it right away, I'm afraid that I'll forget. But then by buying it right away, I end up with a lot of stuff I don't need. So having this space dedicated in a journal to actually write down the things that I think I need and like know that it's not going to be forgotten about really helps me with that impulse spending. So you could use it as intended, or this can be another space for you to do self-care bingo, a ta-da bingo. You can change it to quotes, use fun stickers. I like the person that's using it for their wins for the week. And I also think that the washi tape scraps are really cute as well. So I'll put on a little bit of music for you all to look at these sections, and then we'll come together to close out our time, if you can believe it. It always goes by so fast. Okay, so with that, you're set up for the week. We do have one final spot here on our page, which is the I am loving section. So you can choose to fill this out now or choose to fill it out at the end of the week. You can even decide to put it as maybe a part of your mind body health plan at the end of the week if you'd like to. I like the person that changed it to I'm loving myself by. I always just fill it out at the beginning of the week, however I'm feeling in that moment, because otherwise I forget. So for me, currently, I am loving focusing on confidence this month. But you can see there's so many good things on the screen. And as we close out our time together, we would love to hear what you are loving if you would share in the chat with us. It was our sincere pleasure to be here with you tonight. And I do have a few other examples for you. These are actually how you would set up your pages potentially on 34 and 33. And as we close out for the evening, I'll flip back through those for you to take a look at as we're closing out our time together. But we're so glad that all of you joined us here. We are still doing our Refer a Friend program, so they get $10 off and you get $10 off if you refer them to Silk and Sonder, and then you can come to socials together, and wouldn't that be so fun? If you're not already an annual subscriber and you can upgrade, I would definitely consider it because it can save you quite a bit of money throughout the year, as you can see. And then if you would please fill out our new social survey and give us the feedback that you have for how this event went, what you liked, what you didn't, if there's anything that we can do differently, if there's anything you'd like to see or change, I promise it all gets looked at. And Maya is popping all of these links in the chat for us as well, including the coveted YouTube link. Make sure that you save that. It's not searchable. This social, along with all of our Sonder socials, are recorded and will be up there after a few days. So if you ever can't make one for some reason, or if you want to go back and replay, you'll have the ability to do that with that YouTube link. Finally, I will also share in the chat the playlist that I used for tonight. Feel free to use it if you want to, listen to it throughout the month, or pull songs from it to make your own. Again, it was my pleasure being with you all this evening, and I'll cycle through these last few examples as we close out our time together. Until next time, be kind to each other, and we'll see you all in Sonder Club.
Watch me dance, dance the night away. My heart could be burning, but you won't see it on my face. Watch me dance, dance the night away. I'll still keep the party running, I won't get out of place. Lately, I've been moving close to the edge, still be looking my best. I stay on the beat, you can count on me, I ain't missing no steps. Cause every romance shakes and it bends, don't give a damn. When the night's here, I don't do tears, baby, no chance. I could dance, I could dance, I could dance. Watch me